let's do the weekly review real quick. So weekly goal going into this week for me: 85 average sleep score, 100% PDR, and follow two trade system update. How'd I
Mhm.
do? Total average sleep score was 81 for the week. Last 4 days was 84, so pretty big improvement. Didn't quite hit my goal. Got pretty close, but big improvement from prior weeks, so that's good. Gonna continue to build on that. I think as I regulate my sleep, um, my new sleeping kind of routine or whatever, it will be easier to increase that. So I will continue to work on that into next week. 100% PDR, so really proud of that, especially on a very difficult week. Every trade I took, I followed my plan and didn't deviate or anything. So that's good. I've had like one or two mistakes the last couple of weeks. So this week finally hit that 100%. And for the two trade system, for the most part, I followed that. I limited my trades down from, you know, not really having a limit to 2 to 3 trades a day to place a higher value on mental capital, noticing a correlation between decision fatigue and PNL, negative correlation that is. So wanted to restrict down to 2 trades going into this week, 3 max if there was like a really good A opportunity. A couple days I traded like 4 or 5. It was Thursday. It was actually just one day. Thursday I traded more than allotted for, which I put a pretty detailed explanation of that in my DRC, not to rationalize, but to just kind of explain my thoughts and remind myself why it's important to place a high value on mental capital. In that the bigger lesson to be reminded of, which is included in Thursday's report card that I posted, is that, at the end of the day, we have edge. So whether we take 5 or 10 trades or 1 or 2, if the edge is truly there, the rest is just variance. So, taking, 2 or 3 trades in a day and placing a higher value on decision fatigue being a real thing is super important for me, especially. It's not that I can't take multiple trades in a day. I've, had days where I've had 100% PDR with like 8 or 9 trades when there's a lot of opportunity. It's what follows after that that's the problem. So usually that decision fatigue will kind of weigh in and lead to a mistake made that negatively impacts P&L. So it's at, at first might not seem like a big deal, but typically has negative consequences for me anyway. So Thursday, I just felt like there were some really good ops that I didn't want to miss, and that's why I broke that system. Which, not to make excuses, I reviewed it, and then today followed that up with taking 3 playbook trades on AMD, CRM, and what was the third trade today? Why am I forgetting? Apple. That's right. As far as stats go, what I could have done better, actually didn't put anything in here. I had 100% PDR, so thing I could have done better is a little bit better on the sleep, and then following my respecting the 2 to 3 trade system. I didn't wasn't perfect on that. As far as stats go, I felt like this was a really challenging week. There was a lot of variance in the market. I'm really happy with the results. I have very rare amounts of flat weeks. Usually I'm, green and will have some red weeks in there. But to be flat, I think is even more rare, which is just kind of interesting to me. Was slightly green on the week overall. Um, but I think the main reason I'm excited for the about that is it was a challenging week, and my system and keeping 100% PDR is what I believe kept me flat to green on the week. This is a week where if you made a lot of mistakes, it could really hurt you, and I didn't do that. So um, was pretty satisfied with that. It actually would have been a pretty strong week, actually, like a pretty good week, not strong. It would have been like a fairly good P&L week if I wasn't subject to the variance on the AMD trade, which I shared my execution. I just got pretty unlucky on that today, which it happens. But overall, pretty satisfied with that. The market big picture, we based for 4 days and then finally broke out. So, the market really was just stuck in its range for several days, and then finally last day of the week and first day of the month, we saw some really nice uh, a really nice push over 5100. Felt like we had a pretty difficult week overall with limited top ops. I thought there was a decent amount of layups, kind of like everyday trades, but required a lot of selectivity to be aligned with the ones that worked well. It felt like a week where there was an equal amount of setups or so that failed versus ones that worked. So a decent amount of variance. It seemed like not one particular type of setup worked much more than another. There was a handful of different types of playbook trades that we look for that worked well, and several other trades that didn't work out too well, and also just not a ton of like really big opportunities in the market with my playbook anyway. The top ops of the entire week, I felt like this VKTX was the one of the best, if not the best, trade opportunity of the week for a couple reasons. Heavily in play name to start. The stock is up over 100% in just a couple sessions. Very in play. Feels very broken. And it set up a reversion trade that was really defined. So you had 3 tests at the key level. This was day 2. No, yeah, this was day 2 following its earnings. So day 1's you can't see on the screen. This was day 2, had a decent opening drive, and then based, and then started to finally pull back. And then if you use the asymmetric risk reward here is one of the main reasons, aside from it being super defined and just heavily in play, that I thought this reversion trade was really good. You could risk, only a couple points here using a 5-bar trail to make quite a bit. So this dropped from like 86 to 75. I want to say it's kind of hard to see the numbers there. Can't quite remember. Let's see. This was, yeah, 75. So 86 to 75 direct with no trails. Super impressive opportunity. Then S&P technical breakout today, I felt like was really good. And I think this is just a good way to summarize the breakout trades today. You had Meta, NVIDIA, AMD finally kind of got going. Netflix finally went. Plenty of movement from a breakout standpoint, with the market holding over 5100 and then breaking an all-time high at 5111. As fairly straightforward setup. I also liked intraday on S&P, how it back tested 5111. That's something that we like to see on strong breakouts. If they do back test, you want to see it obviously hold and then trend, which it did. And the top ops, I feel like this is like a good example of the other specific observation we made, that there were several different types of setups that worked, but nothing that was like, oh, this setup or this playbook trade was super consistent for the week, because we have a mean reversion top op, a technical top op, and then a continuation on CRM. This was a really nice trade. So yesterday had earnings. Day 1 catalyst closed on the highs. Had a high confidence score from our algo, and then today we had the break over the prior day high. Unfortunately, not great for options to trade for the room, but for shares, this played out really nice. And then that's it. I'll post a PDF, but there's the list of layups and other opportunities that I felt like were good, and also playbook that match our playbook. So can go in and review those more in depth. But otherwise, that's what we got for the last week of February.
Thanks.